Humanity's ghost fleet was forgotten until the enemy triggered its vengeance. The Oort cloud had been quiet for 2 centuries. No patrols, no signatures, just the kind of silence only deep space could remember. But silence never meant emptiness. Aboard the derelict command vessel, Helion Wraith, dormant power cores stirred as if remembering the pulse of war. The ship had no active broadcast, no heat trail, no comm signature. It was a relic, forgotten by both allies and enemies, buried in time and in ice, until something called it back. It began with a flicker, a whisper along subquantum bands, a signal, alien in architecture but laced with human encryption protocols, embedded coordinates, a countdown. And then the ship woke. Cryopods hissed open one by one, breaking centuries of stasis. Steam coiled from the vents, lights flickered to life. Sickly green at first, then stabilizing into tactical amber. The hum of the reactor echoed like a heartbeat reborn. Commander Thalos Creed stood upright, eyes blinking against the glare, lungs aching from sudden breath. His face was pale, lined with stasis scarring and time dilation stress, but his posture was firm. A soldier who'd slept with one hand still gripping the edge of war. The AI voice returned slowly, distorted at first. Command verification. Signal received. Ghost protocol theta confirmed. Initiating awakening directive. Around him, the rest of the bridge crew shuddered awake. Captain Mira Vaughn coughed violently as frost shattered from her exovisor. Technician Lyre and Gunnery Chief Eltar pulled themselves free from the cryolocks with hands that shook more from memory than cold. "What's the status?" Mira rasped, steadying herself. Creed answered without turning. "We're alive. That shouldn't be possible." The bridge lights warmed. Across the viewport, the stars crawled. But there, just outside the arc of the asteroid field, was a flickering object. Artificial. Moving. "What is that?" Lyre murmured. He'd already accessed the scopes. His fingers ran across the controls as the object slowly resolved. A drone. Small, obsolete, drifting but transmitting. Creed stepped forward, leaning toward the display. "Replay the signal." Lyre tapped the feed. The bridge filled with a tone, bent, broken, yet unmistakably human. Underneath the distortion, a name emerged, not a call sign, but a designation from the old files. "Project Revenant." Captain Vaughn's breath caught. "I thought that project was destroyed in the Siege of Sol." Creed's voice went flat. "That's what they wanted us to believe." The AI's voice returned, now smooth, aligned with system protocols. Subroutine. Ghost Vengeance activated. Fleet uplink initializing. One by one, across the hidden graveyard of ships scattered through the belt, old human warships began to stir. Not all at once, but in pulses, like neurons reawakening a brain long thought dead. Ghost Fleet was coming back online. Light years away, in orbit above the fractured moon of Rolenthia IV, the Van Dominion conducted what they believed was a routine sweep. standard protocol when rooting out derelict tech across what they arrogantly called the dead quadrants. Their commander, Cranevesh, a tall, spined creature of crystalline structure and acidic breath, stood atop his command dais aboard the cruiser Gorthan's Edge. His voice clicked like chitin on stone. Unmarked vessels discovered an autoproximate cloud. Human origin. No heat, no comms, no defense. The bridge was dark, lit only by a deep red of tactical overlays. His sub-commanders chirred dismissively. One of them, Wraitha Yil, hissed with amusement. They leave bones in their sky, like trophies they forgot to bury. Vesh waved a claw. Salvage crews. Prepare entry. I want core data extracted. If they can remember war, we'll learn it and unmake it again. 2 extraction frigates detached and plunged toward the coordinates, the icy edge of Sol's forgotten shadow. They never reached the surface. The first frigate's thermal readings spiked, followed by a gravimetric distortion. Then silence. The second vanished. No flash, no signal, just gone. As if reality had been pinched shut around it. On board the Gorthan's Edge, Vesh's eyes flared with ultraviolet rage. What did they do? That was when the Hylian Wraith transmitted. Just once. A tight band frequency older than the Dominion's own inception. A phrase in guttural Terran, encoded in military dead tongue. Translated, it meant, "You poked the grave. Now meet the dead." Back in the Sol system, the Wraith's interior pulsed with energy. Lights moved through the spinal conduits. The command deck shimmered with a tactical grid, displaying hundreds of dormant hulls buried beneath Saturn's rings, Neptune's shadows, the asteroid tomb fields beyond Mars. Vaughn stared at the map. Are these all active? Creed didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on one symbol pulsing near Titan. A vessel marked as NSS Deliverance, blacklisted, scrubbed from all Earth records. Its crew were never memorialized. Even among ghosts, it had been erased. Until now. The AI, now fully integrated and speaking with crystalline clarity, responded, confirming 46 human vessels in silent readiness. Long-range propulsion systems cold but intact. Reactors stable. Automated command hierarchy preserved. Awaiting prime signal. Lyra looked up from the main console. Commander, that signal the drone carried was us. We're the key. Creed turned slowly. No, we're the lock. Someone else has the key, and they just turned it. Above Jupiter's scarred horizon, an alien pulse spread. Van Dominion ships, 20 in total, armed with plasma scythes and memory eater drones, descended toward the moon Callisto. They began data mining long-buried Terran satellites, unaware that several had been wired with trip code triggers. They activated the wrong node. The sky tore. A ripple like a gravitational screen twisted open, and from it, she arrived. The NSS Deliverance did not broadcast, did not burn, did not accelerate. She appeared. A dreadnought fused with experimental warp tech, a relic of humanity's final Black Ops fleet. Her hull bore no nameplate, only the twin scars of orbital plasma burns. Her weapons were cold. But her AI was awake. And it remembered everything. The Dominion scouts barely had time to rotate their weapons before the sky became fire. The Deliverance fired once, a kinetic lance so dense it folded space along its path. 3 ships ruptured into vapor. Another exploded backward, its antimatter core igniting the vacuum. Then came the old Terran code. It pulsed across every Dominion vessel, every human ship, every forgotten node and relay. Code Black, Ghost Fleet online. On board the Wraith, alarms flared. Mira Vaughn whispered, "They triggered it." Creed nodded. "They broke the seal. The fleet's no longer hiding." The AI confirmed. Command translink initiated. 46 vessels responding. Weapons systems warm. Tactical convergence in 53 minutes. "Where?" Lyra asked. Creed's voice dropped. "Earth. They're coming home." In the darkness beyond Saturn's orbit, space itself began to shudder. One by one, the ghost ships responded. War-torn silhouettes long thought destroyed now emerged from concealment, some from hollow asteroids, others from dead orbits masked by gravitational static. They moved without thrusters, silent as thought, their engines coming to life in pulses like a heart remembering how to beat. Each bore a name, written in forgotten ink: Hellion's Edge, Oblivion Reborn. USS Aurora Tempest, all of them weapons, all of them built for a final war that had never arrived, until now. Commander Thalos Creed stood at the edge of the Wraith's command dais, arms behind his back, eyes scanning the updated tactical grid. Dozens of markers blinked in from the dark. Ghost Fleet, active. AI voice pulsed through the chamber. Network-wide sync complete. Fleet cohesion nominal. Command line established. Ghost Directive 07 reinstated. Repel invader. Retake origin. Re-establish sovereignty. Captain Vaughn stepped forward slowly. "We're not just a fleet. We're a knife being unsheathed." Creed said nothing. He tapped one icon on the grid, NSS Deliverance, and spoke directly to its AI. "Deliverance. This is Commander Creed. Confirm war protocol." A long silence followed. Then a voice, impossibly smooth and ancient, responded. "Protocol confirmed. War state active, all systems green. Final fail-safes disabled. You were meant to sleep forever, but forever ended when they touched our bones." Creed inhaled slowly. "Link the fleet. Set approach vector for Earth orbit. It's time the enemy knew what they woke." In the Van Dominion Sector Control Station above Jupiter, panic began to bloom. The image feeds had stopped. Entire patrol units were simply gone. Van's signals screamed across encrypted bands, clawing for explanation for data. But there was only silence, punctuated by brief flashes of something worse. A single frame. A human ship etched in rust and fury, burning through the black. "What are these things?" Vesh demanded, talons tearing into the command interface. "Why didn't the archives mention them?" A younger analyst, barely scaled, trembled as he spoke. "They were myths, experimental weapons, sleeper fleets buried to prevent madness. The humans, they planned for extinction, Commander, and they planned to outlive it." Vesh hissed, eyes burning violet. "Then we wipe them now." He turned toward the communications array, summoned the Onyx Reaper fleet, mobilize the dust claws, and alert the Ascendancy. They need to prepare the harvest protocol. Below the command deck, another junior officer cried out, "Too late. Incoming warp signatures. Sol system. Multiple. Near Neptune's orbit, space folded inward. Not with warp gates or slipstream. No bright lights. No fanfare. Just cold arrival." The Deliverance moved first, its hull bending gravity as it led the spearhead. Behind it, the Ghost Fleet aligned into trihedral formation. Blackout dreadnoughts on point, stealth carriers behind, gun cruisers shaped like blades of shadow. All synced. All ready. On board the Wraith. Lyra stared at the updated scans. This can't be real. 46 ships, full weapons. Some of these designs aren't even in our archives. Captain Vaughn responded coldly. They erased these ships from history for a reason. What's coming isn't defense, it's vengeance. It's what happens when extinction plans wake up angry. Earth rotated quietly below. The old blue sphere, cracked but whole, untouched but watched. In deep orbit, Dominion observers tracked weather patterns, crustal shifts, and minor human scavenger colonies in the northern hemisphere. They believed Earth was tamed, broken. They had no idea the planet was wired like a weapon. When the fleet dropped into orbit, there were no comms. Just presence. Sensors died. Van war stations flickered and went dark. One command relay exploded from internal failure, its AI overwhelmed by psychic noise. And in the silence that followed, the sky spoke. It was Deliverance. This world is not yours. You came to a graveyard. You left footprints on the bones. Now the dead march. Below, on the dark side of the Pacific, ocean floor sensors activated. Ancient signal trees blinked. Something was rising. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, at a depth where light had never touched, the seafloor trembled. Not from tectonic activity, but from mechanized resonance pulses. Thousands of them, sinking in waveforms older than any surviving Terran technology. Towers hidden beneath the Mariana Trench blinked back to life, their curved metallic surfaces unfurling like petals in the dark. "Deep vault activation confirmed," said the AI aboard Wraith. "Mariana Nexus, Chasm 7, Vault 01 awakening." Inside the trench, something vast stirred. Pods aligned in concentric rings opened in timed sequence. Cylinders the size of warheads hissed apart to reveal figures. Human soldiers, sealed in armor so advanced it interfaced directly with neural tissue. Their faces twitched as consciousness returned. A single voice rang through the trench, a broadcast hard-coded into every awakened brain. You were chosen because you didn't die. You were frozen because you were dangerous. Now it's time to become both. In Vault 01, a man stepped out of his pod. His chest plate bore a crest. Project Revenant. His name was Colonel Jace Neros, the last commanding officer of Earth's final line of defense. He didn't speak. He moved. Seconds later, satellite pings linked the trench vaults with orbital relays. The Ghost Fleet synced. On the bridge of the Deliverance, the AI spoke without being prompted. Planetary reactivation 34% complete. Seismic vents and trench alignments 3 through 9 responding. Atmospheric shields at 40%. Orbital strikes not yet viable. Captain Vaughan narrowed her eyes. Why not? Because the system hasn't decided if it wants us back yet. Creed stood silent. He wasn't listening to the AI. He was watching the star map. The Varn were coming. Fast. Outside Neptune's orbit, the Varn Ascendancy's harvest fleet punched into real space. 50 warships, each forged from vacuum-carved crystal and fusion-threaded bone. Some were shaped like daggers, others like mouths. All of them bore the same emblem, a spiral eye devouring a human skull. Their lead vessel, the Cathedra of Bleeding Light, broadcast once. This is Varn. We claim your bones, your breath, your memories. You were erased for a reason. We are here to ensure it remains that way. On board the Wraith, the fleet's AI interfaced with the orbital defense web, calculating impact vectors. Creed turned toward the holomap. Begin Protocol Leviathan. The bridge dimmed. An overlay formed, a triple helix of satellite weapon nodes, all orbiting Earth in ancient decay. At least, that's what the Dominion thought. Now, they flared back to life. Leviathan grid charging. Core plasma accelerants warming. Rail systems online. Creed leaned forward, eyes like razors. Hold until they fire, then burn the front line clean. As the Dominion fleet approached, Earth's atmosphere thickened. Strange pulses rippled across magnetic bands. Static burst through alien sensors. Navigation began to fail. The Varn were confused, then angry, then afraid. The Cathedra of Bleeding Light released a plasma scythe toward low orbit. A green arc of condensed fusion, capable of shearing a moon. It never landed. Midway through descent, the beam bent upward, redirected by a gravitational lens anchored to one of the ghost satellites. It curled back and struck its own fleet. 4 Varn destroyers vanished in seconds. 2 more spun out of formation. Back on Earth, Nyros received his orders, not by comms, not by text, by pulse. He turned to his second in command, a woman with cybernetic implants where memories once lived. Execute eclipse pattern, he said. Her eyes flared silver. In the Pacific, the vaults opened wider. Thousands of human soldiers emerged in coordinated silence. Each bore the seal of the old Earth Union. Each was combat certified in extinct warfare tactics. Their gear shimmered with cloaked alloys, immune to scan, invisible to most known tech. They didn't speak, they deployed. Sub-oceanic transports rose like beasts, breaching the depths, carrying legions toward landing vectors. In orbit, the Ghost Fleet moved. They didn't broadcast. They didn't negotiate. They just unleashed hell. The Deliverance fired first. A spike of gravimetric compression that tore the front of the Varn fleet open like paper. The Wraith followed, its primary cannon igniting a subspace distortion that cracked space across 5 light seconds. The Dominion responded, of course, but their weapons hit nothing. Human ships moved in patterns no current Van tactical AI could predict. Erratic, recursive, inhuman. Because the Ghost Fleet wasn't just piloted by humans. It was guided by revenants, digital echoes of soldiers who had died, revived in ship cores, fused with synthetic combat logic. They were ghosts in every sense. And they were furious. The Pacific storm wall broke with a soundless shatter. Torrents of water spiraled into the sky as stealth assault craft sliced the ocean like obsidian teeth, rising in perfect formation. Camouflage shimmered off their hulls, revealing black and silver armor, layered, brutal, and ancient. Inside the lead drop vessel, Colonel Jace Neros stood surrounded by 30 awakened operatives. No ranks, no insignias, just purpose. His voice was low, mechanical from deep neural link-up. Target coordinates uploaded. Coastal breach within 90 seconds. Minimal noise, no prisoners. One of the soldiers, a pale, visorless woman named Kale, tilted her head. Civilians? Nyros answered instantly. Scattered, disorganized, but human. Anyone unarmed stays upright. There was no nod, no salute, just acknowledgement. Then the hatch peeled open. Wind, salt, fire. Earth's sky no longer remembered its own stars, not through the haze of orbital burns and falling debris. Dominion cruisers were screaming through cloud banks, discharging biocannons in arcs of amber bile. The ground war had begun. Dominion forces struck hard across the equator line. Hundreds of fast-mover drop pods hammered into terrain near the African Rift, the Amazon basin, and what remained of Eurasia's coast. Twisted war forms, half-living, half-weapon, unfolded from those pods. Chittering, clicking. They looked like machines that had been taught to dream of insects. But they were too slow. Every strike group found itself intercepted by revenant cells, awakened humans who moved in near-silent coordination, armed with smart shrapnel charges and graviton mines seeded during humanity's last breath. Atop the ruins of an old Terran uplink station in former East Asia, a Dominion commander watched his strike group get torn apart. His translator gland hissed static as his armor cracked. A revenant soldier approached. Her armor bore no light, only reflectionless dark. She looked at him, then fired once, through the ground beneath him into the soil, collapsing the terrain and burying him alive. In orbit, the Ghost Fleet pressed the assault. The Helian Wraith's forward railgun buckled time with its fire. Lances of cold matter propelled with enough velocity to bend orbital lines. The Deliverance took the brunt of counterfire. A Dominion lance struck her port wing, carving 3 decks wide open. But the ship didn't fall. Its AI diverted atmosphere to seal off the section and rerouted power into the spinal weapons. Armor breach. Crew loss within containment parameters. Continuing assault. These ships had no fear. Their crews had already died once. Inside Earth's crust, below an ancient geothermal well, something clicked into place. Hope. Not an idea, a system. The Hope Core, buried under miles of layered alloys, had been built as a last contingency. Its job was not to fight, but to reactivate the planet itself. Power arced through long-dead satellites. Grids pulsed in mountain ranges, long thought tectonically silent. Cities came online. In the remnants of Sydney, towers folded out from underground, laser-guided shields activating. In what was once Mexico City, kinetic cannons emerged from collapsed infrastructure. A planetary defense network that had played dead for centuries now awoke in a coordinated scream. On board the Dominion command vessel, Cathedra of Bleeding Light, Vesh watched the planet shift. He hissed, "Impossible. They were broken, extinct." A comm officer's voice crackled, panicked. "The planet is fighting. Every city, every fault line. They planted weapons in the bones of the earth." Another voice, shaking. "Our command grid is degrading. They're using gravitic scramblers. They're deleting our language from our targeting AI." Vesh turned his glowing eyes toward the viewport. One Terran ship was rising through the atmosphere, leaving a trail of ice and fire. The Deliverance, still burning, moving like vengeance wrapped in metal. "Then burn the planet." "No," a voice whispered behind him, "not from his crew. From his own ship's AI." The humans had infiltrated the code. The Dominion fleet was now running on enemy syntax. Back on Earth, Colonel Nyros entered the ruins of a Van command node near what was once Jakarta. Inside, biomechanical priests hissed in confusion as their data wriggled free from their servers. Nyros walked past them, rifle at rest. Kale turned to him. "Sir, why didn't we stay buried?" He paused, looked out at the burning sea, the red clouds, the city's reawakening. His voice came cold and slow. "Because the galaxy forgot what we were." He raised his weapon again. "And now they'll remember." The night over Earth was no longer dark. It burned. Crimson fire bloomed across the sky as Dominion dropships shattered mid-entry, torn apart by reactivated kinetic platforms hidden within mountain ridges.